GM is bracing for a major financial hit after another big recall. The carmaker's new CEO admits something went very wrong with the company's safety efforts.
You're merging onto I-95. Your kids are arguing in the back seat. The radio's playing 70 miles per hour. Then, bang. Your engine doesn't just stop, it seizes. Locks solid, like someone dropped a sledgehammer into the pistons. Power steering? Gone. Brakes? Heavy as concrete. That 18-wheeler behind you? He's doing 75. This isn't a nightmare. This is happening right now to nearly 900,000 GM truck owners across America. The betrayal. General Motors is recalling 597,630 trucks and SUVs, but that number, it's a lie. Federal investigators say the real number is 877,710. Some experts put it over 1 million. We're talking about America's best-selling trucks, the 2019 to 2024 Silverado, the Tahoe, the Suburban, the $100,000 Escalade that was supposed to be the pinnacle of American luxury. These weren't just vehicles, they were promises. A Silverado in your driveway meant something. It meant you could haul your boat on Saturday, take your family to church on Sunday, and trust that American steel to get you to work on Monday. For 3 generations, families passed down these trucks like heirlooms. Buy American, your grandfather said. GM trucks run forever. Except they don't. Not anymore. And GM knew exactly when they'd fail. The smoking gun, January 2025. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration opens an investigation. Within 4 months, GM panics and issues the recall. That kind of speed? That only happens when the evidence is overwhelming. Here's what they found. 39 complaints of catastrophic engine failure, 12 crashes, 12 confirmed injuries, engines seizing at highway speeds with 0 warning, no check engine light, no knocking, no smoke, just instant total failure. The technical term is connecting rod bearing failure, resulting in engine block breach. Let me translate that. Your engine literally explodes from the inside. The connecting rod, that massive piece of metal that converts piston movement into power, punches through the engine block like a bullet. But here's the criminal part. GM's own engineers flagged this defect in internal documents. They knew the bearings were contaminated during manufacturing. They knew the crankshafts had incorrect dimensions. They knew these engines were time bombs, and they kept building them for 4 years. The Band-Aid fix. So what's GM's solution to engines that could kill you? Thicker oil. I'm not joking. After nearly 1 million defective engines, after people crashed on highways, after families could have died, GM's fix is to drain your 0W20 oil and pour in 0W40. They'll slap a new cap on it, maybe change your filter. 30 minutes at the dealership, and they'll send you back onto the highway with the same contaminated bearings, the same defective crankshaft, the same time bomb under your hood. The official statement claims thicker oil provides a stronger protective film between critical components. But GM's own engineers privately admitted what every mechanic knows. Oil viscosity can't remove metal contamination already circulating in your engine. Those microscopic metal shavings are still there, grinding away, waiting to destroy your bearings. Worse, that thicker oil reduces your fuel economy. Remember those EPA ratings that sold you the truck? Gone. That V8 power you paid for? Reduced. They're literally making your truck worse to delay the inevitable failure, hopefully long enough for your warranty to expire. One mechanic in Detroit called it putting a Band-Aid on a severed artery and hoping the patient doesn't bleed out in your parking lot.
The courtroom bombshell, October 2022. Federal court in California.
The case that GM desperately wanted to keep quiet. Siqueiros versus General Motors. For 6 years, GM's lawyers fought to bury this case. They failed. When the evidence finally came out, the jury was horrified. Internal documents showed GM engineers warned executives about defective piston rings causing excessive oil consumption. The fix would cost $87 per engine. GM's response? Change nothing. Let them fail after warranty. One email from a GM engineer read, "We're seeing bearing failures at 60,000 miles. Recommend immediate redesign." The executive response, "What's our warranty exposure if we do nothing?" The jury deliberated for less than 1 day. The verdict? $102.6 million. GM was found guilty of knowingly selling defective engines to 38,000 customers. But here's what GM didn't want you to know. Those were the previous generation of engines, the LC9 engines from 2011 to 2014. They supposedly fixed the problem for the new generation. They didn't fix anything. They made it worse.
The numbers they're hiding. Let's talk about what this really costs.
Not GM, you. Average engine replacement, $8,000 to $12,000. But here's the scam. Dealerships are quoting $15,000 to $20,000 because supply chain issues have made engines scarce. Wonder why engines are scarce? Because thousands are failing every month. Resale values have crashed. Kelley Blue Book shows certain V8 models down $5,000 to $8,000 below expected values. That Silverado you bought for $65,000? It's worth $45,000 if you're lucky. Insurance companies are raising premiums. State Farm and Progressive have quietly adjusted their risk tables. Owners report premium increases of $400 to $800 per year. Not because you're a bad driver, because your truck is a liability. Small business owners are getting destroyed. That contractor in Michigan who bought 5 Silverados for his crew, he's looking at $75,000 in engine replacements. The landscaper in Texas whose truck died hauling equipment, he lost $30,000 in contracts while waiting for repairs. GM's response to these numbers? Engines perform within acceptable parameters. Acceptable to who?
The worker who talked.
I spoke to someone who worked the line at GM's Tonawanda engine plant. We'll call him Mike. He's terrified of retaliation. We knew, Mike said. Everybody knew. You'd see engines come down the line with visible contamination, metal shavings in the oil passages, scoring on the crankshafts. Why didn't anyone stop it? You ever try stopping a line that builds 1,400 engines per day? That's $3 million per hour. They'd rather ship defective engines and deal with warranties than stop production. Mike described the quality control process. Inspector would flag an engine. Supervisor would come over, look at his quota sheet, and wave it through. It'll probably make it past warranty, he'd say. The worst part? The engines shipped to fleet customers, the ones going to rental companies and government contracts, those got extra quality checks. The ones going to regular customers? Those were the ones with defects. They knew exactly which engines would fail, Mike said. They just gambled that most would fail after warranty. It's not a defect, it's a business model.
Tiny flaws, massive failures.
Let's get technical for a moment because the engineering failure here is actually fascinating in a horrifying way. The connecting rod bearings in your engine are precision parts. We're talking tolerances of 0.001 inches. That's thinner than a human hair. One grain of sand in the wrong place and that bearing will eat itself alive. GM's supplier, who they refused to name, had contamination in their manufacturing process. Microscopic metal particles embedded in the bearings during production. You can't see them, you can't feel them, but at 3,000 RPM, they're like sandpaper grinding away at your crankshaft. Here's where it gets worse. GM switched to a new oil spec to meet EPA requirements. Thinner oil for better fuel economy, but thinner oil can't protect contaminated bearings. It's like running a marathon in worn-out shoes. Eventually, something's going to break. The failure happens fast. One owner described it, no warning at all. 1 second I'm passing a semi, next second the engine locks up. I'm doing 75 with no power, trying to coast to the shoulder while a semi bears down on me. The technical reports show bearing temperatures exceeding 400 degrees before failure. That's hot enough to weld metal to metal. When that bearing finally seizes, it doesn't just stop, it welds itself to the crankshaft, locking your entire engine solid.
The recall that isn't. Here's the dirty secret about recalls. They're not mandatory. GM can issue a recall, but they can't force you to bring your truck in, and they're counting on that. Internal documents suggest GM expects only 60% compliance with this recall. Why? Because the fix doesn't actually fix anything. Owners know it, mechanics know it, GM definitely knows it. One dealer in Ohio told me off the record, "We're doing maybe 10 of these recalls per week. We should be doing 50. People don't trust it. They'd rather trade the truck in than get the oil change fix and wait for it to blow up anyway." But here's what happens if you don't get the recall done. GM can deny your warranty claim when the engine fails. You didn't complete the recall, they'll say. Not our problem. It's a trap. Get the recall and you're driving a time bomb with thicker oil. Skip the recall and you lose warranty protection. Either way, GM wins. And those stop sale orders for dealers already lifted. They're selling 2024 models with the same defective engines right now. The only difference? They come with zero W40 oil from the factory. Broken trust. For 3 generations, Chevy runs deep wasn't just a slogan. It was religion in places like Michigan, Texas, Oklahoma. I talked to Jim in Fort Worth. His family has bought GM trucks since 1947. My grandfather bought a 47 Chevy after the war. My dad bought a 73 Silverado. I've owned 6 Silverados. My son just bought a Ford. That last sentence hit like a punch. 75 years of loyalty. Gone. It's not about the engine, Jim said. It's about the lie. They looked us in the eye, took our money, and sold us garbage. Then when we complained, they said we were driving wrong, using the wrong oil, not maintaining it properly. They blamed us for their defect. The forums are full of these stories. Families who've bought GM for decades, now shopping Toyota. Small businesses, switching entire fleets to Ford. One dealer in Michigan admitted his Silverado sales are down 30%. Trust takes generations to build, seconds to destroy, he said. GM destroyed it. The rival circle. While GM scrambles, Ford and Toyota smell blood in the water. Ford dealers are offering $5,000 conquest cash for GM trade-ins. Their ads are brutal. Built Ford tough means never wondering if you'll make it home. Toyota's new Tundra campaign shows a Tundra pulling a broken-down Silverado. The tagline? Reliability isn't a recall notice. Ram is pushing their Cummins diesel hard. When you need an engine that actually lasts forever. But the real threat isn't trucks. It's electric. While GM dumps billions into fixing gasoline engines, Tesla's Cybertruck and Ford's F-150 Lightning are eating into future market share. One analyst told me, GM is spending money fixing yesterday's technology while their competitors own tomorrow. This scandal isn't just costing them customers. It's costing them the future. The market agrees. GM stock has dropped 15% since the investigation began. Ford is up 8%. Toyota is up 12%. Wall Street sees what's happening. GM is the next Boeing. Too big to fail, but failing anyway. Political theater. Congress loves a good corporate scandal, and GM just handed them a gift. Senator Gary Peters from Michigan is calling for hearings. When American companies betray American workers and American families, Congress must act, he said. The political theater is predictable but effective. Executives in suits getting grilled by senators, victims testifying about crashes, the CEO apologizing while saying nothing. But here's what matters. The Department of Transportation is considering new regulations requiring real-time engine monitoring and public disclosure of all warranty claims data. If that passes, GM can't hide defects anymore. Every failure would be public record, every pattern visible. Insurance companies are pushing hard for this. They're tired of paying claims for preventable failures. If we knew about these defects earlier, we could have adjusted risk models and saved lives, State Farm's risk director testified. The EPA is also sniffing around. These engine failures mean unburned oil entering the environment. That's a Clean Air Act violation. Fines could reach $37,500 per vehicle. Do the math on 900,000 vehicles. That's $33 billion. GM's lobbying spending has tripled since January. They're fighting this on every front, but the damage might already be done. Your next move. If you own one of these trucks, here's your playbook. First, document everything. Every oil change, every weird noise, every dealer visit. Take photos of your receipts. Record videos of engine sounds. This documentation is your ammunition if you need to fight GM. Second, check your VIN immediately at nhtsa.gov/recalls. Even if you're not in the official recall, file a complaint. The more complaints, the bigger the investigation gets. Third, get the recall done, but document that you don't agree it's a real fix. Send a certified letter to GM stating you're complying under protest. This protects your legal rights. Fourth, join the class action lawsuits. 3 major firms are building cases right now. You might only get $3,000, but that's better than nothing when your engine grenades. Fifth, consider trading now. Values are dropping monthly. The longer you wait, the less your truck is worth. One dealer told me, if you're going to jump ship, jump now. If your engine fails, pull over immediately and safely. Call 911 if you're in traffic. Document everything with photos/video. Get it towed to a dealer. File a complaint with NHTSA. Contact a lemon law attorney. Don't let GM gaslight you. This is their failure, not yours.
The deeper game. This isn't just about defective engines. It's about a broken system. GM made $9.9 billion in profit last year. Their CEO made $29 million. They could have fixed every defective engine for less than 1/4's profit. But why would they? The math is simple. Pay to fix 900,000 engines at $10,000 each equals $9 billion. Let them fail and fight individual lawsuits equals maybe $2 billion. It's Ford Pinto math. Remember that scandal? Ford knew the Pinto's gas tank would explode in crashes. Their internal memo said it was cheaper to pay wrongful death settlements than fix the cars. GM learned from Ford's mistake. Don't write it down. But the calculation is the same. Your safety versus their profits. Guess who wins? This is why we need real consequences. Not recalls that don't fix anything. Not settlements where lawyers get $53 million and owners get $700. Real consequences. Criminal charges. Executives in handcuffs. Company broken up. Until that happens, they'll keep doing this. Because it's profitable.
The choice. Right now, nearly 1 million time bombs are rolling down American highways. Behind the wheel are people like you, people who trusted a brand, who believed in American manufacturing, who thought a GM truck was the one thing they could count on. That trust is gone. And maybe that's the real scandal, because when General Motors sells you a defective truck, they're not just stealing your money, they're stealing your faith in American business, your belief that companies stand behind their products, your trust that someone, somewhere, gives a damn about doing the right thing. You've seen the evidence, the internal documents, the courtroom testimony, the engineering failures, the cover-up. The question now is simple. What are you going to do about it? If this made you angry, good, it should. Hit subscribe right now. We're tracking every development in this scandal. Share this with every GM owner you know. They deserve the truth. Drop a comment with your story, your engine failure, your dealer nightmare, your betrayal. Because here's the thing GM doesn't understand. We're not just customers, we're a community. And when you betray one of us, you betray all of us. The recall might be their move, but the next move, that's ours.